Somewhere in your past, you took your first breath. You cried for the first time. Someone held you and you felt their warmth against your skin. And you remember none of it. Not 1 second. Every person alive has this exact same blank space, and scientists have spent decades trying to figure out where those years actually went. Part 1. The gap everyone shares. This isn't a personal memory failure. It's universal, and it has a name: childhood amnesia. Ask almost anyone their earliest memory, and it lands somewhere around age 3 or 4. A rare few claim 2. Before that, total darkness. And here's the part that doesn't add up on the surface. A toddler isn't dumb. They're learning language, recognizing faces, forming real attachments to the people who raised them. In the moment, they clearly remember things: where a toy is, who feeds them, that the stove burns. So the memories are there. Something just erases them afterward. Part 2. Proof babies actually remember. Here's what makes this genuinely strange. Babies can form memories. That part isn't in question. Newborns recognize their mother's voice, something they picked up before they were even born. A 6-month-old can recognize a stranger they briefly met 2 weeks earlier. Infants notice when a familiar mobile above their crib changes. So the real mystery was never whether babies can remember. It's where all of that goes afterward. And the answer sits inside one small, unfinished structure buried deep in your brain. Part 3. Your brain's unfinished filing system. That structure is called the hippocampus, and it's essentially the part of your brain responsible for converting a passing moment into a memory you can keep for life. Here's the problem. At birth, it's barely wired up. The connections needed to file memories away long-term simply aren't built yet. And it gets stranger. The hippocampus is one of the only regions in the human brain that keeps generating brand new neurons throughout your entire life. In adulthood, that new growth helps you learn. But in early childhood, that same flood of new neurons works against you. It disrupts the very connections trying to form, essentially overwriting them before they can become permanent. You're not failing to save your first years. Your brain was too busy constructing itself to properly file anything away. Part 4. The second explanation nobody expects. But structure alone doesn't fully explain it. There's a second reason, and it has nothing to do with brain wiring. Much of what you remember isn't stored as a raw image. It's stored as language, as the story you quietly tell yourself about what happened. Babies don't have language yet. Researchers comparing memory across different cultures found that people raised speaking languages built around rich storytelling traditions tended to report earlier and more detailed earliest memories than those from cultures with simpler narrative styles. In other words, without words to hold an experience in place, your brain had nowhere solid to file it. Those years weren't empty, they just happened in a language you hadn't learned yet. Part 5. What's actually still there? Here's what almost nobody tells you about this gap. Just because you can't consciously recall those years doesn't mean they left no trace. Psychologists separate memory into 2 types: the kind you can consciously retrieve, and the kind that shapes your reactions without you ever being aware of it. Your conscious memories from before age 4 are gone, but the second kind is still fully operational. How you react to being ignored, how safe or unsafe silence feels, how easily you trust a stranger. Much of that was quietly built during the exact years you can't remember living through. You didn't lose your first years, you were built by them, before you had the language or the brain structure to ever write them down. The memories are gone. What they built is still running everything.